Hi, Rhetoric. How are we doing? I think this is the first class for you guys. This is how the format works for my online program. You will watch a video like this for each lesson. We'll watch it right to the end. It'll be embedded with some a little YouTube video in there as well. It won't always. Sometimes it'll be just me chatting away. They'll never be longer than about 10 minutes, and so you'll watch the video. At the very end of the video, it'll clearly state what the assignment is, and you'll go off and do your assignment. Okay? I hope you guys are all enjoying this online learning environment as much as I am. It's been a huge learning curve, but a lot of fun. I just wanted to welcome you all. First, we've got Natalia somewhere in Mexico. We've got Coleman in Wolfville, just across the dikes there. Anastasia, you're in Canaan? That's what it says on the program. I know you're nearby. Luciano is in Mexico. Nolan, you're in Blockhouse. Emily, you are in New Minas, just down the road. Of course, Papa, you're down the road also in Windsor. You got a full household, I'm sure. Tony, you're in Halifax, hanging out with your auntie, I hear. Joe, you're in Hammonds Plains. Kaz is in Boulder, Colorado. Paula, you're back at home in Mexico, I know. Fox, you're in Windsor, just down the road. Adrian's in Hong Kong. Lorena, you're in Mexico. And Annika, you are at Newport Corner. How cool is it that we're all coming together still in this class, and we can still communicate? Because that's what rhetoric is all about, is communicating. And so the first class I actually wanted to do with you guys was essentially learning about how we're doing this right now. Just a very quick little history of the internet and how the internet works and how this all came to be. Because about 100 years ago, in 1918, so about 102 years ago, we had a very similar global pandemic that happened, which some of you may have heard about. It's called the Spanish flu. And during that time period, same idea. A lot of people had to socially distance, had to be in quarantine so that we could try to make it so that not many people got sick. Unfortunately, many people got sick. That was a much worse pandemic than the one we are in now, and about 50 million people ended up dying. If we didn't take any steps with this one, we would see a lot of death, unfortunately. But because we're taking these drastic steps of social distance, it's going to flatten that curve. You've heard that before. It's going to flatten that curve, and we all are going to be coming out of this, hopefully, okay. Because, and hopefully with as little death as possible, right? That's sort of the war we're in right now with this virus. We're trying our hardest. It's the most amazing thing. It's fascinating that we all can do one thing by staying home, staying safe, washing our hands, keeping distance. So actually the opposite of rhetoric, right? Not communicating with each other physically, right? Not communicating with each other, right? When you're next to people, you have to stay quite a ways away from them. By doing that, we are able to save lives, and that's just a fascinating thought. So for rhetoric, we're going to learn about communication and learn about really how this is working, because I think a lot of the time we'll come to our computers, we'll go to our browsers, go to mykes.ca or whatever, like go to the KES website and have all your classes up, but you don't really know, like, I was curious, I was thinking, like, what's happening? Like, how does this actually work? So, talking about a little brief history of the internet today, I just have one slide here, and then we'll watch a little video that will clearly explain how the internet came to be. So in light of this global crisis we are in, I wanted to spend the first class in rhetoric focusing on the beginning of the internet. I'm just reading this slide. Without this connection, distance education would be near impossible. It is very true. We should be very proud and thankful of the people who came before us who invented such a unique and widespread form of communication, which truly changed the world. So I'd like you guys to just pay a close attention, watch this video that's going to show up right here in about, well, let's just snap my fingers and it'll play.
This episode of Life Noggin was brought to you by Audible. Hey there, welcome to Life Noggin. Thanks to this wonderful thing called the internet, you are watching this video right now. But how did the internet get to where it is today? There is so much internet history that we couldn't possibly get to everything in this short of a video, so we're definitely gonna have to make a second one. Anyway, let's get started. The internet actually got its start over 50 years ago, and computers back then filled up entire rooms. Scientists and researchers used it for years to communicate during the Cold War. It was useful because if one computer went down, the others wouldn't follow. In 1962, a scientist named J.C.R. Licklider proposed the idea of a network of computers that could talk to one another. In 1969, the first ever message was sent from one computer to another over the ARPANET, the government's computer network at the time. ARPANET stands for Advanced Research Projects Agency. One was located in a research lab in UCLA and the other at Stanford. All the message said was log in, and it didn't fail to crash the network. Stanford only received the first 2 letters of the message, but hey, you gotta start somewhere. By the end of the year, only 4 computers were connected to this network. In 1971, the University of Hawaii's Aloha Net was added, followed by various networks in London and Norway 2 years later. Also happening in 1971, Ray Tomlinson was developing the first system to send mail back and forth between the users of ARPANET. This would eventually be called electronic mail, or email for short. The @ symbol was used to tell a person's name and the host name apart. With all of the networks floating around, there needed to be a way for all of the computers on them to communicate with other networks. This is where computer scientist named Vinton Cerf comes in. He invented a way to introduce computers across the globe to each other in a virtual space. This invention was called Transmission Control Protocol, or TCP, which was followed by Internet Protocol, or IP. In the 80s, scientists used Cerf's protocol to send data back and forth, but the 90s is where it really all began. In 1991, a computer programmer named Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web. This wasn't just a data sharing space for scientists anymore, this was an entire network of information that was accessible to anyone with an internet connection. You're using a browser right now to watch this video, and some of the popular ones are Firefox, Google Chrome, and Safari, but in 1992, Urwise was created. Urwise was an internet browser and the first to have a graphical interface. A few browsers came before and after, but in 1993, Mosaic was created, and it would popularize surfing the web. Mosaic influenced many of the browsers to follow, including Netscape Navigator in 1994. This became the most popular web browser at the time, accounting for 90% of the web usage in 1995. In the early 90s, companies like AOL and CompuServe were starting to provide dial-up internet access. Dial-up is a method of connecting to the internet via a telephone line. Your telephone line was plugged into a modem and the other end was plugged into the phone jack. There was a period in history where you couldn't use your telephone and the internet at the same time. Without the internet, we obviously wouldn't have things like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, but way more importantly, we wouldn't be able to access information in seconds. We wouldn't be able to communicate with people from around the world, share ideas, and educate those who might not get a chance elsewhere. Also, without the internet, I'd actually have to talk to someone when I order a pizza, which, by the way, was the first thing ever purchased on the internet. How would your life be different without the internet?
Thank you for watching that video. What extraordinary times. Very interesting to see sort of how the internet came about. I want you guys to do a little bit of more research. Do some on your own. Be independent. Go out there. Get some more knowledge. Get some more information on the internet, on the personal computer, how it all happened, the history, and then I want you to do the assignment. Your first assignment is pretty simple. All you're doing is going over to www.flipgrid.com. You type in a code. The code for yours is going to be Rhetoric 8C. Okay, it's the name of the class. If you go Rhetoric 8C, no capital letters, the number 8, Rhetoric, number 8C, you will be able to access the portal for Flipgrid. You may have used that before with Mr. Campbell. It's a wonderful forum tool that allows us to chat to each other with little videos. You will make a very short little video and post it answering the following prompt. Describe how the internet allows us to connect and communicate in various ways. Okay, so you can talk about anything there, but I want you to use examples. Use examples about how we are connecting with KES right now. I'm sure many of you tuned into the assembly that just happened. It's just so wild. It's amazing what we can do with technology right now and how it's all working really well. And also, how is life different now than it was 20 years ago? So if you can think in year 2000, that's 20 years ago, before you were born, in year 2000, if this all happened, if we had a pandemic, how would people go to school? I want you to answer that question. How would people go to school if we all had to stay home in year 2000? How would life be different? Thank you, folks. I hope you tune in each time. Of course, you have to because you're still going to school. I'll be back with another lesson next time we have rhetoric. Have a great day.